Here's some really good news. You can beat anxiety, depression, sleepless nights without medication, according to our next guest, by rewiring your brain. He's a psychologist and director of training for mental health for Kaiser Permanente, Northern California region, and the author of this book, Rewire Your Brain, Think Your Way to a Better Life. Welcome, Dr. John Arden. Good to have you. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Arden.
Pleasure to be here. Now, as I understand it, the conventional wisdom is that our brains are hardwired a certain way. You're saying now that there is science that tells us we can rewire our brains.
That used to be conventional wisdom.
Now,
current wisdom is that our brains are partially soft-wired, much like a computer is soft-wired. You've got software in there. So we've got software and we've got hardware. So we have tremendous potential to change and develop new habits and new feelings about enjoying life instead of being hardwired to feel kind of depressed or be anxious or whatever.
Exactly. So we can, in most cases, people can get off medications they may be taking for these conditions, say depression, anxiety, sleeplessness, if they can practice this rewiring.
Well, I'm not advocating against the use of medications entirely, but I think it's very important that we try other things before we go the medication route. Most people, for example, that have anxiety don't need medication.
Right.
And they can get over the anxiety by doing many, many things.
So let's talk about these steps. You have an acronym here called FEED, F-E-E-D, which helps get us through these steps of rewiring. The first foot, the F is focus.
Focus is activating your prefrontal cortex. So first you've got to be there. You've got to be present with what you're thinking about doing. And then the doing is the first E.
Okay, what's that?
You've got to do what you don't feel like doing. So if you're breaking a new habit, you've got to do what you don't feel like doing, because if you do what you feel like doing, you do what you used to do.
Right.
I
actually got that. Okay.
So think of it. Some of us are old enough to remember phonographs, right?
Yes.
A broken record.
Yeah.
Well, you had to get up and off the couch to bump the needle, right? It was stuck in a groove. And that's kind of like habits. They're stuck in a groove.
So we have to make the effort to get unstuck.
Exactly. Until it becomes effortless. That's the second E.
Second E.
Got it. Okay. And then D, determination.
You got to stay with it. So let's say you're learning how to ride a bike. And you're working at it, you're wobbling, and after a while you feel better about riding a bike. And now you're riding through Golden Gate Park and enjoying the scenery and everything. You're doing it effortlessly.
Okay.
But let's say you don't ride for 10 years. You hop on a bike, you might wobble a little bit.
Right.
Stay in practice.
Got it. Okay.
Are men's and women's brains wired differently?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Those of you that are women in the viewing audience or out here in the audience might be tickled to know that the area of the brain that connects the two hemispheres is thicker than Spencer's and mine.
What does that mean? Is
What
that
that
good?
means, basically, is your two hemispheres work better together than our hemispheres work.
Exactly. Right.
And you can hear the emotional nuances in what we say much better than we can.
And is that why women are good at multitasking? Is that part of the reason you think?
Not necessarily. Women are good at multitasking because they're better at fine motor dexterity. Men are better at gross motor dexterity.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So what's the best way for us to keep our brains healthy and in shape as the years go by, as we age?
Well, you know what? One of the best tonics for the brain is called brain-derived neurotropic factor, which you can remember as Miracle-Gro. And the best way to get that moving in your brain is exercise. Exercise is the best thing you can do for a brain.
Really?
And it will increase your longevity.
Okay.
So exercise, cognitive activity, which means thinking a lot. So let's say that you're in your later years, you want to be taking classes, you want to be doing all sorts of things that you're not used to doing, which expand your brain. It makes a whole lot more connections. You have more to lose.
Right.
Okay.
So use it or lose it.
Right, and
Exactly.
sleep is very important.
Sleep is critical.
Okay.
And if you don't get enough sleep, what you're really going to end up doing is being tired and fatigued and dragging yourself through the day.
And we're running out of time. Dr. Arden, great advice. All the tips
Thank
on
you.
our website. Check them
Rewire
out.
your brain. See you tomorrow.